Alright, I decided to do the suspension mod. So you gotta take your tires off. And I'll show you how to do this. You unscrew the shock bottom here. Just like this. Now you use a screwdriver and you pop off the shock bottom. And there it is, just like that. Next you want to get a pliers and a little piece of paper like this and fold it up, cardboard. And you wrap that around the shock shaft like that. Then you hold it with a pliers just like this so you don't scratch nothing up. And then you unscrew the shock bottom. And there you have it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit off this, maybe millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters. I'll do one of them and I'll let you know how much I took off next. Looks like they're about 17.20 millimeters. And I used the Dremel cutoff wheel and I cut some off here. So I took off a little over 1 millimeter on this. So we're going to hook it up and see how it works. I'll show you how I did it. I used the Dremel with a cutoff wheel and I just cut one off as thick as the bit itself. I just went right across. You could probably use an X-Acto knife or maybe just sand some off. You could make a mark on there how much you want it to come off and just sand it to that mark you made. I'm going to hook these on next and see what it does. Alright guys, I cut 2 of them the same size. I have my caliper locked and I just put them in there. And this one's from the back. I already put one on the front there. And you just have to hold the shaft again with the cardboard on it like this and tighten this down till it bottoms out. Now I'm going to put it on and we'll see what the difference is compared to the other side, because the other side is still stock. Another thing is, when you do this, the springs are kind of stiff, so you may want to take these shocks apart and you probably could cut like a coil off or two to make them a little softer so it flexes to the top, because they're so stiff it may never even flex all the way to the top after you cut some off. So that's a tip if you want to try to do that. But we're just going to see right now what this does compared to the stock side. Alright. That's the cut side. Let's see. See how close it goes up to the fender. Let's see the stock side. You see it's a little higher. So you could probably even go a little more, but I think that's good enough. Alright guys, I have all the shock bottoms cut up the same length. Now let's see how they work. Suspension compressed, you could see the space. It's a lot closer to the fender. Try this rear. So that gives you a little more flex. After I got finished cutting all shock bottoms, I'm going to take the shock off by these screws here. And I'm going to see what the spring is like inside this thing. I think I could cut some off and it'll make this work better. There's the shock. And how these come off. Actually, you may be able to just take them off without unscrewing them from the car. It looks like you stick a screwdriver in there and you snap them off. Yep. Just like that. And there's your spring. So I'm going to take some of this off. I'm probably going to take like 3 coils off and see what that does. And the way you do that is with a cutting pliers. You actually could probably just grind this nipple off right here and see how that works. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to use this bit right here on it. Easy as that. Now let's put the shock back together and see how this works. Snaps right in. We'll see if this gets softer to suspension. Alright, I got the shock bottom screw on. Now let's put this one on the chassis to mount the shock. Now we'll see how the suspension is. It feels softer. I'm going to do the other side. I screwed these back on and I did the shock caps and I ground the plastic off. You don't want to tighten these screws really tight because you want the shocks to be able to wiggle a little bit so they work better. Because if you tighten them down, they'll get stuck really hard and stick. It feels softer. I'm going to put the tires on and see how it goes. What the hell, I'm going to do the front also, but I'm not going to take the whole chassis apart. I'm just going to pop these off over here, like I said, with the screwdriver to get them out. Just like that. I have to get the piece out. There it is. Again, I'm just going to grind that off. Now you want to pop this back on the top. It's going to be a little tricky how to take the wheel off. You just got to go like this with your fingers. And there you go. Simple. Now I'm going to do the other side. I'll show you when it's finished. You can see the difference how it wiggles around now. It's a little softer. Look at the suspension. It feels like it flexes easier now. This is probably going to work much better. Yep. Oh, that's the shock mod. Look at that. That's much better than stock. Yep. Just starting to lift the rear off. So there it is. The shock mod worked. I'm happy with it. I think it's going to work much better.